This is our agenda for tonight's session on how to plan and run effective precinct organizing meetings. I'll talk about precinct organizing meetings in general. Then I'll break the process down into these steps: plan, promote, recruit, prep for your meeting, and then the precinct meeting wrap-up items, the action items that you'll want to take care of after the meeting is held. Throughout the way, I will share resources and links. I will also share them in the follow-up email. We'll wrap up with some additional resources for you. So I'm going to jump right into about precinct organizing meetings. And actually, I'm going to kick it to Sarah O'Brien. Sarah.
Thanks, Christy. All right, so as you can tell from the intros, this year Precinct Organizing is a collaboration between political affairs, organizing, and our training departments. And we, of course, have formal party business that needs to be accomplished when we meet. But we also know it's a time that we gather together 5 or more people who are making a commitment to increasing the number of votes for Democrats close to home. So to capitalize on that energy and enthusiasm, we're going to challenge you to do a few things at your meeting this year. They may be things you're already doing. They may be new things for your county. First, ask more of your precinct leaders. Be really explicit about what we need. We need, at a minimum, a good email address and a phone number. We need to keep in touch throughout the year. We need them to show up over and over again at county meetings and events. And we just need to tell them that that's part of their job when they sign up to be a precinct leader. We challenge you to empower your precinct leaders to be creative, right? Because there are so many different ways we can bring people into this work. It could be a community service project. It could be a book club. It could be a movie night. Non-traditional ways of bringing people into this work are a great project for 2025. We also encourage you to follow up regularly with your precinct leaders, work alongside them with their precinct projects, and also hold them accountable for being active in their communities and in their neighborhoods. So we are really, really fortunate this year to have a full NCDP staff. That is not something we take for granted in these odd-numbered years. And as you're going to hear from this training, we're committed to a robust organizing process that we fully support, and one that leads seamlessly into action, because it's really a perfect setup for getting started for 2 years of organizing. So we're really excited for this collaboration. We're excited you're here tonight, and we can't wait to make it a really meaningful process for each of your counties.
Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, we're excited that we have the opportunity this year to view this as a really robust part of our organizing program, and not just something that has to be done according to the party plan of organization. So, and as I was working on developing this content, just to piggyback on Sarah's comments about asking a lot from your precinct leaders, I can tell you that I live in a precinct that is not organized. And I came across somebody, part of my county party leadership recently, actually not that recent, December. And I said, hey, I'm willing to organize my precinct. And they said, great. And I haven't heard from them since. So if somebody expresses interest, jump on that, follow up, and make sure you're getting people engaged, especially if they say they want to get engaged. Okay. Couple of resources here. So I mentioned just now the plan of organization. This is our formal document that defines all party operations. It is written maybe like a binding contract. So I find it a little dense on occasion, but it's a tremendous resource when I'm looking for something specific. So I'm going to ask you to read it. In particular, the parts that cover precinct organizing, which is slides 13 through 21. I have it bookmarked. I have a PDF saved on my desktop. I actually have a printout here in my mess of an office somewhere. I reference it regularly. I also want to point out here, and I got to zoom in, June 1st, 2024. This is the current binding version of this document. June 2024. That's the version you should be looking at. Okay. We also have precinct organizing packets, and there are 2 versions here. On the left-hand side of the screen, the blue document is intended for county party officers. The white hardcover version on the right-hand side is for precinct leaders. So for county chairs, first vice chairs, whatever county leadership team is working on this, it's going to go into specifics about planning and reporting your precinct meetings to the North Carolina Democratic Party. I will tell you that tonight's session is based on this document, but there is some information in there that I just didn't have room or time to put in here. We'll try to drop that link in the chat. Then the other version, this is for the precinct leaders. This is a tool for people who will be running their precinct meetings. First of all, it's shorter. Second, it's black and white, so it's a little easier to print. It does include a sample meeting agenda, descriptions of the roles and their responsibilities, has sign-in sheets people can use, the meeting certification form, which I'll talk about again later, and some guidance for planning next actions. Getting back to Sarah's point, like we want to build momentum for this November's municipal elections and for everything coming up in 2026. I mentioned up front that there's a lot of diversity in our state, and what this looks like county to county, precinct to precinct might be a little bit different, but there are common objectives across all of the precincts as we organize them. It's a great opportunity for Democrats to gather with their like-minded neighbors. We know that in maybe smaller counties, redder counties, it can just be shocking to realize you're not the only Democrat around. So that is one of our goals here. We can share our vision and our priorities for the next 2 years with volunteers, get precinct leaders bought into our plan, having them commit to activities and trainings. And then we do have to accomplish some party business. This is the stuff that's mandated in the party plan of organization. So for example, for a precinct to be organized, you need quorum, which is 5 registered Democrats who live in that precinct. At the meeting, you need to elect the precinct chair, the precinct vice chair, and a secretary. You will elect county convention delegates at precinct meetings, and it's an opportunity to solicit recurring donations. 2025 and the first 6 months of the year, there's a lot of work around party organizing to set us up for success. So here are some key dates here. When I send these slides out, I encourage you to put these all on your calendar. We know we have the winter SEC meeting February 22nd. The precinct organizing period is March 16th through the 29th, followed by county conventions in April, congressional district conventions in May, and of course, we have the summer SEC meeting June 28th. These are the 5 steps for organizing your precinct meeting. You are here tonight, so you are ahead of the game, and I love it. What we're recommending here is when you should roughly tackle these tasks. I'm a procrastinator, so without saying like when I should be working on which things, I would get to about March 10th and panic. So I appreciate this timeline that Sarah and I helped develop. And I'm going to break down each of these steps into a checklist for you here in just a moment. Okay, before I jump into planning, the first step here, I'm going to ask my co-hosts if there's anything that's come up in the chat that we should address or if there are other questions we should tackle. There's so much conversation in the chat that I can't keep up.
No, I was going to say, somebody asked about pending changes, proposed changes that might be coming. And so I wanted, Christy, did you want to speak to that, or maybe Nye, you have your hand raised?
Well, what I would like to say is the June 2024 version is currently, that is our source of truth. There are pending changes coming that will be voted on February 22nd. So if you've heard talk about some of those changes, they are not yet in effect. Nye, did I say anything wrong or anything to add?
You said it perfectly. We haven't voted on the change to make it from 5 to 3 yet. That happens at the winter SEC meeting on February 22nd. So the number may change and we'll communicate that with y'all if that happens.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to keep moving and talk about planning your precinct meeting. So right off the bat, and this is stuff you can be doing now in the next couple of weeks, there are some logistical decisions for you to make. For example, are you planning centralized or decentralized precinct meetings in your county? So some counties, for example, I think Wake does this, like these are the days we're doing it. We've got dozens and dozens of precincts. We're going to have it all organized and done on one day. Some counties, particularly if maybe they're a little bit smaller or the volunteer base is smaller, they might say, we've only got 3 precincts. They're going to do it on their own and report back to the county party. That is a decision that you can make. Please talk to your regional organizing director if you want some guidance or to think through the pros and cons of those couple of options. You should also then pick your date and think about where you will be having your centralized or decentralized meetings. So will you be doing it in person, on Zoom, maybe some kind of hybrid? Hybrid gets a little messy, but it is more accessible. So that's something for you to think about. When it comes to the meeting location, ideally, best case scenario, you will have your precinct meeting at the polling location for that precinct. That's best case scenario. That's not always possible. So plan B here is to have your meeting at another place that's accessible to all Democrats who live in the precinct. You should run that by the county chair and make sure you give plenty of notice on that. There's more detail in the document that we will be sharing. Worst case scenario, not ideal, probably shouldn't happen very often, would be if there's no public facility available. So then you have a non-public location. But again, all registered Democrats in that precinct need to be welcome and it needs to be accessible for them. I happened to see something came up in the chat about cluster. So clustering is an option. There are some specific requirements here about when you can cluster. I think there's a proposal for February 22nd to make some adjustments, but as I said, that is not yet official. So if you are interested in clustering, I've got on the screen here, and you'll get these slides tomorrow, the contact information for Vinod. And he has asked for that information by February 8th because those requests have to be approved at the winter SEC meeting. You've made your logistical decisions. Now prepare copies of the precinct organizing packet for your precinct leaders. So this was the white PDF with white cover. We've got some suggestions here on exactly where to put information. I'll show you a screenshot in a second. I do want to flag that the delegate allotments are not yet final. This is being held up by our sore loser, Judge Griffin, who has not yet conceded and acknowledged that he has repeatedly lost the race for state Supreme Court justice. Because that is still being litigated, we don't have final precinct tallies. So that information is going to come. When it does, we will have a table that you can link to where you can look that information up. These are the screenshots, and I know that's small. I can't see it on my own screen. I'm zooming in. But what you'll see here when I send out these slides is the orange box is where you will put the delegate allocation and any fundraising goal. You will provide that information. If you were the county chair, first vice chair, you will provide that information to your precinct leaders at a precinct level so that they know. Then on the right-hand side with the red box around it, hopefully you will know your county your county convention dates and hopefully your district dates, and then you can put that information in there as well. Again, a pitch for looking at the plan of organization, particularly the parts that are about precinct organizing. And then finally, we have a Google form that we're asking you to fill out about your plans. This will go to Sarah's team and our regional organizing directors. When we know when your precincts are organizing, we can help promote it. We can help with perhaps call lists of people we can contact to recruit to get them to attend your precinct meetings. So you will hear from us looking for that information, and that Google form is how you will provide it. Okay, next I'm going to talk about promoting and recruiting, but I'm going to pause here again and see if there are questions in the chat that we should address broadly.
I saw one. Oh, go ahead, Mackenzie.
So there are a couple of similar precinct clustering questions, and Nye may need a tappy for this. So if there are counties operating under alternative plans of organization, if at the winter SEC meeting the number for quorum changes from 5 to 3, does that apply to organizing clusters as well?
I believe that if your county is currently under an alternative plan of organization, that also has to be approved. But I don't want to speak too soon, just because if we don't make the changes at the SEC meeting, then the current way that we cluster is still binding.
Got it. And Sarah,
Yeah.
you said you had seen a question.
Yeah, somebody put a question in about, can you have multiple precincts meeting in one location and then break out for precinct elections? And I wanted to say, yes, absolutely. A lot of counties do it that way. And it's really, we would recommend that if possible, because it really gets a lot done quickly and it's very efficient for the county leaders who need to run these meetings.
Yeah, that's really best case. And oh, go ahead, Sarah.
And I was going to say, just to be clear, you don't need to have a formal alternative plan of organization to have a meeting that's that style. So if you're going to have every precinct meet at one place and then I'll go sit at a different cafeteria table, that does not require an alternative plan of organization.
Thank you. Okay. Michael, go ahead.
Yeah, I just saw a question in here also asking what was needed to be in by February 8th. And that's the paperwork that when you reach out to Vinod Thomas, if you're interested in clustering, he'll send you some stuff that you can put together with your county executive committee, and you send that back to him by February 8th.
Thank you. Okay. And of course, I'm not an SEC member, but as the party plan of organization changes are voted on at the February 22nd meeting, after that, NI will be communicating whatever changes have been approved.
And there was just one more jargon question about what is clustering?
I guess the idea of the cluster is that instead of having 3 different precincts all run their own, maybe you don't have enough leaders. And so as long as they are neighboring, let's say it's 2 is more realistic. If you have 2 precincts that are next to each other, they can cluster and kind of make a precinct for the purposes of precinct organizing. Okay. Promoting. You've got your event planned, so you want to promote it so that people attend your event. Couple of minimum recommendations. You should have a meeting pre-registration process. So you want to know who's going to be there, particularly so you can get a sense of if some precincts don't seem like they're going to have enough people there to be considered organized. That will give you and us a flag so that we can target Democrats in those areas to try to get attendance up. You have some flexibility here in terms of how you want to handle that pre-registration. This is one of the things that, depending on your community, maybe you'll use a mobilized page, a Google form, Facebook event. Just make sure you are keeping track of that. You also want to post a notice about your meeting online. If you have an email newsletter, put it in there, put it on your social media accounts, on your website, on your Facebook page. You could consider sending a press release to your local paper so that Democratic activists or registered Democrats who aren't currently activists and volunteers might see it and decide that they would like to get involved. They might attend. And to help support you in that, and I'll share this link tomorrow as well, we do have precinct meeting graphics that you can use for your outreach. Recruitment. Now this resource here, the Precinct Organizing Dashboard, I'm going to show you this in just a moment, but this will help you get a sense of which precincts weren't organized in the past 2 years, where you need to do some recruitment to find precinct leaders. So we will share this precinct organizing dashboard. I wanted to show you what it looks like. And I know that's too small to read, but the 3 parts that I wanted to call out by the orange 1 in the upper left-hand corner is a drop down so you can select your county. The screenshot's Alamance because it was first in the alphabet. Number 2, there's a column here that says status, and it says organized or not organized. So you can view at a glance which precincts were not organized in the last 2-year period. Number 3, there are a bunch of names here. So the top part, these are the county party officials. And then for each precinct, it lists the precinct chair, vice chair, and secretary. So all of that information comes from Vote Builder. If you see names that are wrong, what you can do is update Vote Builder to correct somebody's name or tag them with the appropriate tag. I'm going to have training on using Vote Builder to manage your precinct level data. I'll share the link to sign up for that in a little bit. This is also something that if you need Vote Builder help, come to my office hours, or your ROD might be able to help you with that. So once you've reviewed that dashboard, you'll have a sense of where you need to target your recruitment efforts. As I've mentioned several times, your regional organizing director, we've got Michael here, we've got Mackenzie. I didn't happen to see if the other RODs are here, but they can help you with this. They can help you strategize where you need to recruit. They can help you pull lists to call friendly Democrats to invite them. So please have conversations with them when you need help. And then think about what your recruitment and promotion tactics will be. So calling, emailing, texting people about the event, making confirmation calls, all of that will be helpful to make sure you have everybody you need at your sessions. That was promoting and recruiting. I'm going to talk next about the activities you should do in the few days before you have your meeting. But I'm going to pause again for questions. Okay.
I have a question.
Oh, yes.
Where is the dashboard located? Is
Um,
it inside Vote Builder or on your website?
no, we'll have to drop the link either in
Okay.
the chat, which is going very quickly, so it might get lost in the shuffle. I will also include it in the follow-up email that I send tomorrow or Monday.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Marlando.
Yes. So question is reference to the help. Are we subject to, can we get help from organizers as far as in reporting for precinct organization if this is the first time that we decided to do a cluster? Because I know that that would be different in how we do that, and just trying to understand how will we enter information in Vote Builder comparative to if we have never done cluster before.
I'm going to say, yes, you can get help. And I'm going to make a note because I don't know the answer to the question you just asked. And the Vote Builder training's coming up in a little bit, and I will address it then. But for my friends from the organizing team, anything you want to share?
Yes. So it is a little bit awkward when you have a cluster. You may end up on that dashboard appearing like there are two vice chairs from a precinct, or there's only a secretary treasurer or something like that. But you'll go ahead and tag everybody with the tags that Christy's going to go over in a bit. The dashboard doesn't do to summarize, the dashboard doesn't do a good job of reflecting clusters, but when you tag things in Vote Builder, that's what we really need to know and see for our purposes. And we'll know that you have a cluster because you'll have approved plan of organization, alternative plan of organization.
Thank you. So the Vote Builder part is the same. You don't have to do anything special in Vote Builder to tag your people in their roles just because you're a cluster. That's my takeaway. Okay. We're all learning. Okay, let's talk about preparing for a meeting. And I was a little worried about time, so I hurried up. I'm feeling better about time. So if you have questions, I'm going to go a little bit slower. Okay, so when you're getting to the final stage before your precinct organizing meeting, here are some things for you to do, the week or two before your meeting is scheduled. Think about how far in advance you want to do it based on like how big and complicated maybe your process or your county is. First would be make sure that the precinct leaders in your county, for the county party friends we have here, make sure those precinct leaders have their customized precinct organizing packet. That's the document I showed earlier where I said you'll put in how many delegates they get, put the dates for the county convention and the district convention. Think about what your process is going to be for collecting attendance and certifying your meetings. Then when the county has decided if you're doing a centralized program or even decentralized, when you've decided how you want to get that information, make sure you are communicating that process to your precinct leaders. And I'm going to show you a couple of ways to do that here in a minute. Think about the process you will use for proposing resolutions that should be adopted at the county convention. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on this here, but one of the documents I will share in the follow-up email is the guidance from 2020 on how to write resolutions. So there's some information in there for you on that. And then if you're going to be holding your meeting on Zoom, make sure you know how to use the appropriate Zoom functions. For example, if you are organizing multiple precincts in one Zoom meeting, you'll want to have breakout rooms. You might need, you can use free Zoom for, is it 40 minutes now? But like if it might be an hour, then you might need a bigger Zoom license, but do some practice on your Zoom skills. For our county party chairs or vice chairs or anyone who will be speaking at this event, think about what you want to say. So what were your county's accomplishments in 2024? What are your goals in 25 and 26? What can we accomplish as we're working together? And how will you get there? Just some thought starters for your remarks. Also, going back to the idea of momentum, think about your calls to action. In organizing, in electoral work, we always want to think about what is the next action someone should take. So, are you going to host a social event and everybody should come to that? Are you going to ask your precinct leaders to schedule an event? How will people sign up for the event? Are you going to direct them to party resources, for example, some of the trainings I have? Think about what the next step will be and have it planned before your precinct meeting so you can get people signed up for it while they're there. Momentum. So in the packet for precinct leaders, on this page here, there is a spot so precinct leaders can plan a precinct event. So this is to prompt them for that. What's the event? When and where will it be? What is the next step? How are people going to register for that? Make confirmation calls to everybody who has pre-registered or day or two before. Maybe you have a little help with this. This is a good thing to delegate and have, more hands make light the work. And then also be prepared to collect donations at your precinct meeting for the state party, for your county party. This is an opportunity to collect those donations. I'm going to talk next about the steps for you to take after your precinct organizing meeting, but let me pause and see Sarah, Mackenzie. Oh, I see a glass of wine. Anybody have questions that we should bring up for the group?
I saw a few questions about access to that dashboard. Just request the access if you aren't already on it, and we will review it and approve it tomorrow. So don't worry if you don't have it tonight. We'll get you in. Orlando, what question do you have?
Yes, I saw in there. Does the state provide access to a ProZoom account for counties if they wanted to utilize that for precincts for meetings?
No, if it's not if you don't already have one, it's not in the budget, you can use Google Meet, which is free for infinity minutes. So that would be my recommendation there.
Okay, gotcha. And then secondly is in reference to the cluster, and maybe I don't know if this is like has been said before, but is there a limit to what percentage of your precincts that you're able to cluster in a county, or is that just based upon the decision making of that county? Like, is there any limitations or guidelines around that?
Yes, your plan should specify a number of precincts, or it probably won't pass the Plan of Review Recommendation Committee, the PORC, whatever that acronym is. So if you don't specify how many precincts are going to be clustered, they're going to send it back to you for that information.
And the precincts do need to be neighboring each other. So that is one of the limitations. All right. Oop. Here we go. Let's talk about what to do after your precinct organizing meeting. So please enter your meeting information into Vote Builder within 5 days. I've talked about Vote Builder a few times and all the different ways we leverage the information that's in there. So it's really important that we have good information. This is absolutely not something I expect you to be able to see on the screen, but I'll be sharing this as resources. These are two suggested ways for you to collect attendance. So that's the information. You want to have attendance in Vote Builder, and you want to tag the people who are now serving in leadership roles. For attendance, the top of this page here is a spreadsheet. The bottom of the page is a paper sheet that's included in the precinct leader packet. So if you're virtual, you're going to want to use an electronic form probably. If you're in person, maybe you use the paper form. But these are a couple of options for you to consider of how you're collecting attendance. Both options collect the same basic information. We've got name, address, phone, email, if they're making a donation, how much, and also then their employer or occupation, which is required for donation reporting purposes. And for precinct leaders, if someone has been elected a precinct leader at the meeting, I am hosting training for precinct leaders to onboard them. They can indicate which day works better for them on the sign-in sheet. And then you can enter that information into Mobilize so that so that they know when those trainings are coming. So these are options for collecting attendee data. The data then goes into Vote Builder, and I mentioned I've got a training coming up. There is also a written guide if you prefer to read that. We'll share that. For people who have attended, you will apply an activist code in My Voters. It's the last one there, event 25 precinct organizing meeting. And then people who have been elected to a precinct leadership position or a county convention delegate, you will also tag them in Vote Builder in the My Voters section. Then all of these people, you also want to make sure they are in your My Campaigns part of Vote Builder, so you can continue communicating with them, recruiting them for events so that we can help you recruit for events. Make sure they are also in My Campaigns. I do have a recommendation here that for your precinct organizing events, if you use Mobilize as your pre-registration process, then that information makes its way into Vote Builder for you as long as they're connected, which I think they are for pretty much every county now. So if you use Mobilize for your registration tool, it does minimize perhaps the amount of data entry you have to do. And I mentioned, I want to reiterate here that when precinct leaders have been selected and they indicate which precinct leader training they can come to, please enter that into Mobilize. That's what it will take for them to get the Zoom link and get the reminder emails and everything. For Vote Builder, the trainings on using Vote Builder to manage your precinct meeting data, those are coming up March 13th and 18th. And I will share the link in the follow-up email, and someone may drop it in the chat now as well. So after the meeting, you're entering your information in Vote Builder within 5 days. If you have received any donation checks, mail those to the North Carolina Democratic Party. We've got the address here. Of course, thank the attendees for coming. Follow up with the precinct leaders to hear what they have planned. Encourage them to plan something if they haven't yet. This is a really good list for adding to your email distribution or following on social media from your county party accounts. So stay in touch with these people. And then for any precincts that didn't meet quorum, reschedule their organizing meetings within the next 2-week period. The other requirement after the precinct organizing meeting is to submit your certification. There should be one for each precinct. This is included in the precinct leader packet. And you can see here in the orange box, you will put in the precinct will put the meeting details, when, where, who organized it, their contact information, and then who was elected to the 3 positions. And the precinct leaders will share that then with the county parties. Those are the activities to work on after you hold your precinct meeting. Sarah, are there any questions, and did I say all that right?
I've been trying to answer the questions in the chat as they go. It sounded to me like you said everything right. I would say some of the questions from the chat are about reaching folks. There you go. Let's see. One of the questions is, can you use Vote Builder to do mass emails? The answer is no, you cannot, with one exception. You cannot send emails out of Vote Builder. You can export email addresses and send it like through a regular email address. So that's one thing. I will say for folks who, as an incentive to get us your precinct dates and locations and the information about when and where you're going to meet. NCDP does have a budget for texting, and so we are hoping to help you promote it. So get us your information, and then we'll send out text messages to past attendees or potential recruits, and try to get them to your meetings. So we can help you in that way. I think that's one of the questions I saw. Mackenzie, were there others that you wanted to shout out?
Marlando, do you have a question?
God. Okay, hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. I'm sorry. I didn't know if I got to my mute button. No, when Sarah said that about the text messaging program, can you tell us, Sarah, as far as to who do we what information are we required to send to you to be a part of that? And then secondly, who do we contact for that to be a part of that to utilize the text service? And then what cost is it to the county?
There is a Google form that I will pull up the link to, and that's how we'll need your information. Texting is just one way we're going to help try to get folks to your meetings. We also have a page on our precinct landing page that has like hyperlinks to your meetings location. So make sure you have a Mobilize or Sign Up Genius or a Google form or something, some way for people to register online. And we'll get that out there as well. The details of our texting program are we haven't fully figured out who our universe is going to be yet, but I mean, roughly speaking, we'd like to text past attendees and potential folks for unorganized precincts. So that's kind of the rough outline of who we're going to be texting, and we'll be doing that as soon as we get precinct meeting information.
No, and it says, Sarah, you say you're going to put the link in there, and that if we just fill out that link will go to whoever we're supposed to go to, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Now, the second part of it is about Mobilize, right? Mobilize is already a paid feature that you guys give into every county. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Can we get help from an organizer, just in help in just how to access that? Because I know that we had that, but in some of our counties, we've never utilized Mobilize. So is there a support where we can ask for a request just to put up there for our precinct meetings?
Yes, Bishop can help you get all your precinct meetings up on Mobilize.
Okay, perfect.
Michael.
Sorry, I had to find my mute button. I did see a question in the chat that I thought was a pretty good question. I see this question come up all the time. Let me see if I can find it. There it is. If we do a mass precinct organizing party, how many can call in by phone? Is it still 2 per precinct?
I'm very quiet because I don't know.
If we're still operating under the plan that was adopted last year, I believe it is still 2, just based on my knowledge from doing precinct organizing last year.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I couldn't remember. I know it has been done in the past, but didn't know if y'all had an answer better than mine.
Well, and Nye might have had to leave us because she is leading another meeting at 7:00. So we will try to get an answer to that. Yeah. I'm looking at the time. We've got just a little bit of time left. Oh, Nye is here. Nye.
Yes, so sorry. My laptop died, so I accidentally hopped off. I got the tail end of that question. I think I can answer it before I have to hop off for real. If you could repeat it.
Yeah. So if we're doing, and I think this applies even if they're doing individual meetings, but if we're doing a mass precinct organizing meeting, can members still call in by phone up to 2 members per precinct if they're not able to make it?
That's a good question. And for some reason, I feel like that falls under alternative plans.
No,
when it comes to hosting did someone?
Yeah, this is Donna Lucky. If you have 3 people in attendance, if your chair has approved this, anyone other than the 3, so 2, 3, 4, 5, yes, can call in and be in attendance by phone. You have to have 3 in person, and then the additional ones can call in.
Thanks, Donna.
Yeah, I think that's what I remember too. Thank you. And just to add to that, I saw Barbara's question on that. If it's a cluster, would it be two per cluster or two per precinct? It would be two per cluster. Your cluster sort of becomes its own body, like a precinct would. That's
Thank
all,
you.
Christy. Thank you.
Thanks. Alfreda, I see your hand. Give me 2 minutes. Let me run through these last couple of slides. Just in the interest of time, if anybody needs to leave at 7, I want to share these last few resources. So also in the precinct packet, you will find a staff directory, everybody who works for the state party and how to reach out to us. We also, every department has office hours. So for example, my office hours are Fridays at noon. Join me on Zoom. There's not a structured training, but it's an opportunity to ask questions. The organizing department has office hours, so that is listed in the document, along with links to some important party documents and some instructions on Robert's Rules of Order. As a reminder, resources for precinct leaders in that packet include a sample meeting agenda, roles and responsibilities for the precinct leadership positions, the sign-in sheet you can use, and a sheet for next steps. This is the full training series. I'm doing this session again on February 13th. I have recorded this and I will post it to the NCDP's YouTube training playlist in the next couple of days. And I encourage you, as you are recruiting people who might be interested in a precinct leadership role, send them to the March 6th and 11th sessions. And then as people are elected as precinct leaders, the onboarding or refreshers on April 1st and 10th. So I'm going to stop recording.